Hey guys, we are Sean and Christy Michael of the world famous Long Long Honeymoon blog. Today we're going to tell you a story. We're calling it Death of a Refrigerator. This is not necessarily a screw by screw how-to guide.
All right, turns out we just needed muscle.
However, we're going to tell you what we learned in going through this process, and when you watch this video, I think you will find it easier to change out a refrigerator. Pretty much all of our appliances in our Airstream are manufactured by the DOMETIC Corporation. In our case, our Airstream is about 15 years old, and we have had all of our original appliances working quite well for 15 years. As our story begins, we're packing for a big Airstream trip after a long, hot summer full of brain tumor fun.
So we go out to do some work on the Airstream, and this is when we're sort of doing our final pack. Like, we're bringing our clothes, our toiletries, we're getting ready to hit the road the next day. And I opened the fridge to put some things in, and it's warm.
Okay. Clicked over to gas.
So I knew right then something bad had happened. And at first we thought maybe we'd kicked a breaker or something and it had just not gotten any power. And so that's why it was warm.
We called our Airstream mechanic specialist friend, Vinny Lamica.
Yeah, Vinny's North Bay Airstream Repair.
So sometimes if you plug that into an extension cord and all of a sudden the fridge then gets the right AC power.
And he told us a couple of things to look for. And of course we opened the exterior panel to look at the back of the fridge, and the bottom of that compartment is full of yellow dried fluid, and that is ammonia.
And now it's leaked out the ammonia, it's non-serviceable. The only option is to replace the fridge.
Okay.
If you think that's the ammonia, it's like an oil.
Yeah.
And it's yellowy. It's hard to tell from the phone, but it kind of looks like it.
Yeah, it's kind of yellow. We'd been very pleased overall with the performance of our original refrigerator, so we just wanted to replace it with a similar unit from DOMETIC, but they don't manufacture exactly that same model. So we made a couple of phone calls.
You need to know the dimensions of your fridge, and you need to make sure that whoever is telling you what model number to replace it with, that they've got the dimensions correct on their end as well. Because at first I was told an incorrect model to replace ours with. And had we ordered it, it would have been about 4 inches too tall for the slot that our fridge holds. And I have to say, the most helpful people we spoke with about that was at Airstream. They knew exactly what unit to replace it with. So once we finally determined the actual model that we needed, we placed our order, and it was about a 2.5 week turnaround time, because these fridges weigh about 150 pounds, at least the one we got did. I know they make bigger models and smaller models, so it'll just depend on what you need. But that means it gets shipped freight. It's not coming FedEx or UPS, so it's a little more of an involved process. And also beware, if you get a fridge shipped to you and it comes freight, they will not deliver it to your door. They will only bring it to the curbside.
So we actually picked up our refrigerator at the local shipping company's loading dock. We just thought it might be easier if we take our pickup truck Seymour over to the loading dock and have them loaded into the bed of the pickup with a forklift, which is what they did. You need a hand with that? Now, we laid the refrigerator on its side, and you can do this, but if you choose to lay the refrigerator on its side, then you need to let it stand in a vertical position for, I believe, around 12 hours before you proceed with the installation.
And that has to do with some sort of fluid that's inside. They want to make sure it's all in the bottom.
Yeah, it's kind of like whatever bubbles might be in there sort of like float to the top of the internal mechanics of the refrigerator.
All right, what'd you get?
One refrigerator, courtesy of the DOMETIC Corporation. step one was to remove the old unit from our Airstream. And we started this process from the outside of the Airstream. And I have to give, of course, a huge shout out to my father-in-law,
My daddy-o.
Harry.
Yes.
And if you followed our YouTube channel for any length of time, you've probably seen Harry in our videos.
Yeah.
I think Harry made his first appearance on Long Long Honeymoon literally a decade ago.
Yeah, he was in the first episodes, walking me down the aisle, you know? He can build anything, he can make anything, he can fix anything.
I think we could fix it if we had another day.
Every tool you could ever want, he has. If he doesn't have it, he'll make it. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but we've seen it happen, so.
Other tricky part, I think, of removing the old refrigerator, and that's disconnecting the electrical and the propane attachments to the rear of the fridge.
Yeah.
The propane is pretty much a screw-on,
Yeah,
screw-off
of course,
type thing.
before you do that, you need to make sure that both of your propane tanks are closed, that there's no propane actually flowing. And
also that the electrical connection is shut off.
yes, so you don't want to shock yourself. You don't want to blow anything up.
Right?
So, you know, if you're not somebody that's super handy, those things can be super intimidating. And I totally understand if you would want to have a professional do this job.
1316. That's what it is.
1360. So with the electrical and the propane all turned off, all of those connections were disconnected, and then a lot of screws were unscrewed.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is screwed and bolted in from the outside and then also from the inside. And on the inside,
There are little panels that pop off that will reveal the actual screws that hold, you know, the fridge in place. So, you know, once you reveal those, it's just, like you said, unscrewing a lot of screws.
Old and stripped.
These are pretty bad shape, honestly.
Yeah, they're pretty rusty. That one's turning
Yeah,
a little bit.
they're almost stripped too, for some reason. Just because they maybe rusted apart.
The two that are very troublesome are the ones that are bolted or sort of screwed in the
turning.
bottom of the fridge. Ours were at a bit of an angle to sort of, I guess, anchor the fridge better. And one of those was completely
worrisome.
like stripped out.
There won't let
we'll bite into it.
no, it's the head of it's rusted off. Leave this.
Vice grips.
It's kind of at an angle over here.
It's almost flush with it too.
It's not sticking up enough.
No, take the drill and drill it off. Let's see if I can get it.
Ours were at a bit of an angle to sort of, I guess, anchor the fridge better. And one of those was completely like stripped out.
Yeah, you're gonna have probably some issues with those bottom screws because over time they rust. I mean, unless they're stainless screws, yeah, they're gonna rust and deteriorate, and it's gonna make them more difficult to get out. So we ended up having to drill those out. So that would trip up a lot of casual do-it-yourselfers, I think, just getting those screws out. Another point to make about these refrigerators, you can customize the external appearance. Ours has a wood panel appearance that matches up with the rest of our cabinetry. We were able to reuse our original wood panels. And so all you have to do is undo some screws and take off a couple of brackets, and those old
slides
panels
right
just
out.
slide right out. If you want a glossy black finish to the front of your refrigerator, DOMETIC also makes panels for that, and you could also have a stainless steel finish on the front if you prefer. So the next challenge you will have, now that you've unscrewed and unbolted your old refrigerator, is getting it out the door.
That. Come up this one here. So now you should be able to see the little
I mean, the old unit is headed to the appliance graveyard anyway, so you don't need to be too gentle with it, I guess. And we actually took a tape measure, measured the dimensions of the fridge, and measured the dimensions of the door to kind of see which way we needed to rotate the refrigerator to bring it out. And I believe we just took it face out, just sort of the logical way. Hey.
Yeah, it's just got those metal rails on the bottom. I didn't want to scratch the floor.
This thing weighs about 150 pounds, just a fly.
Just caught on something down at the bottom. Lift up.
It's hard to get a good grip on it. You alright?
Yeah. You want to know what the inside of the wall looks like? That's what our TV's hanging on.
Yep.
This
Move this blanket.
dinky little bit here.
So this is what the top of your refrigerator looks like after it's been sitting for 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's really no way you could possibly clean that.
So look, there it is to the outside.
Yeah. You can see where the ammonia spilled out on
Yeah,
the bottom.
see the yellow sort of stuff on the ground there? That's the ammonia that leaked out. And it was finally dead. Here we go.
Ready?
Ready? There you go.
Alright, put it on the cardboard so we don't slice up the floors.
Something to be really wary of, especially if you have wood floors or laminate floors or linoleum floors in your RV. The bottom of these fridges have these metal railings on the bottom, and they will scratch things very easily. Now, when we talked to Vinny about this, of course he does this by himself, but he does this on the regular, and he has a system. But if you don't do this on the regular, trust me, you are going to want a strong friend to help you because, you know, it's heavy and it's awkward.
And something else that we did that I think overall is a very good idea is we removed the doors to our old refrigerator. And that was helpful in two ways. One, it lightened the weight just a bit. It made it a little easier to handle because you didn't have to worry about the door maybe swinging out, and you could really get a grip around the edge.
Yeah, you can kind of put your hand inside.
You know, an empty refrigerator can be actually dangerous because small children might crawl inside it and play in it.
Yeah, and those doors on a fridge lock in an RV.
Yeah.
And so you don't want any little kid getting locked in or even locking in a pet or anything like that.
No.
That would be horrible. So we removed the doors before we ever pulled it out of our camper.
Next step, now that we had the old refrigerator out of the unit, we wanted to clean out the interior of that space because we had basically 15 years worth of gunk collected in there.
So gross, yeah. And it's, you know, that external hatch, it gets all the dust and everything from the road and all that sort of stuff. And so we vacuumed it out, and then
It's a tub of towels.
we used a product called Tub of Towels. My dad recommended it. He had some.
Oh, look at all this dirt right there.
Oh, wow. Well, it's 15 years of junk.
You suck it up with a vacuum cleaner.
Kind of loosening it.
The first thing that we did, once we had our truck in a position we liked, we took off all of the packaging materials, all those shipping supplies, all that good stuff. We took all that off in the bed of the truck.
One thing you need to look for is clipped on to the back of your fridge are some very important little panels, and you wouldn't know to look for them if someone didn't tell you. And thank goodness Vinny told us to look for them. But they are just attached with little cross ties, and they look like they're part of the workings of the fridge, but they're these little black metal panels that actually cover up some of the things when you get it installed.
So like if you install the fridge and you forget or don't realize that you need to get those panels off
Then
the
you have to
rear,
take it all the way out to get to them.
then you have to uninstall it, get those panels, and reinstall it. So like I think the easiest way to get the fridge in the unit, again, it's 140, 150 pounds, something like that. 2 people can typically handle it.
Yeah.
And you could put it on a hand truck and just wheel it over to the edge of your RV. And then it's just going to have to be lifted up into the RV. You know, you really can just get it up kind of on the edge. Again, setting it on a moving blanket so it's not going to scratch your floors. Ease it into your rig.
We sort of like tipped it forward and then picked it up and set the feet down inside the door and then tipped it upright. So I was inside to catch it when they tipped it in, and they were outside lifting it onto the ledge. And we stowed our steps away so the steps weren't in the way at this point. Or if you happen to be lucky enough to have your Airstream parked somewhere where you could back your truck directly up to the door and be able to drop the tailgate and literally step off the tailgate into the door, that would be even better because you wouldn't have to do any lifting or anything. But where our Airstream was parked, we didn't have that luxury. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at that point, you're sliding the new refrigerator into position, and then you just kind of have to wrestle it, shove it into place.
Okay, so you want to slide it this way. So it gets lined up.
Yeah, it fits.
Push your bottom in. Now push your bottom.
And there's a little bit of pushing, pulling, kicking, all those sorts of things to sort of get it shimmied back in there just right. And you'll know when it's in there correctly because it'll sort of match up all the way around the edges.
It's a match.
Yay!
You can still go in some more.
And then you just start the process around the back outside of connecting everything.
Definitely, if you have any stainless hardware, it's a good idea to upgrade to that.
Now's
especially
the time to change.
At that point, we had everything back together. Then it was time to reconnect the propane and the electrical, which of course Harry did.
Yeah, so he did the electrical first. There's actually, your fridge actually has a plug, and there's actually a plug inside, and it's up behind where you look in. So you can't really see the plug, you're sort of just having to feel for it. You know, you plug it in, then you connect your 12-volt battery, and then the propane is what he did last. He had the solution that you use to test for leaks for your propane, which is very important. You want to do that. And that's a solution that basically would make bubbles. So if there was a leak, the propane would cause this solution to form big bubbles.
All right, here comes propane. We have propano. So you have the tester for leaks.
It's leaking and blow big bolts.
So once he got the propane reconnected, the power was working. We knew the AC power was flowing to it. So now we needed to test to see if the propane was going to fire. The first thing we did was turn our propane tanks back on. We opened one of those up, got the propane flowing. One way to get the propane really flowing is to go in, open your stovetop up, and light one of your burners. And it'll take a minute since there hasn't been propane flowing. So we had to do it a couple of times before it finally lit. So once that lights, switch your fridge over to gas and wait to hear that clicking sound. And it'll take a minute or so. It clicked for probably a good 30 to 45 seconds, I would say, before it finally fired. And you can hear it when it does that. You just need to, don't have any music on or anything like that, so you can listen for it from the inside, but you'll be able to hear it and know that your propane is working.
It lit.
Yep.
No bubbles.
No leaks. At this point, everything is installed, everything's hooked up. All the good juices are flowing.
Yep.
So all you can do is set your refrigerator to cold and wait. And it's
Yeah.
going to take at least a few hours before you
Yeah.
really know if it's working.
We waited overnight, and when I was talking to some dealerships and to Airstream about getting it installed, if we had decided to not do it ourselves, they all said that they keep your rig overnight if they install a refrigerator because they want to see it, you know, like 24 hours after they install it to make sure everything is cooling properly.
So after we checked it and had been sitting overnight, thankfully the interior of the refrigerator was ice cold. So I would say overall this job it's not the easiest job for a do-it-yourselfer. I mean, there's the weight and bulk issue of dealing with the refrigerators. You have to dispose of the old refrigerator. You got to wrestle these things into place. There are
And
a
not
lot
all of
screws.
the screws go in and out easily. Some of them you really have to wrestle. Some of them are almost impossible to get loose. So it's not just sort of a plug and play type of situation.
Door panel scene, take 2.
Operation refrigerator.
Mission accomplished.
So we want to give a big shout out of thanks to the DOMETIC Corporation for helping us out with this project. We're thrilled with the new fridge. Of course, it matches up perfectly to the previous fridge. The only difference is maybe the logo on the front.
It's a little different, and our drawers and shelves inside are now clear. Before they were white.
Yeah, it looks like the interior has been redesigned just a bit, and it now has a big Made in the USA stamp on it, which is quite nice. So overall, we're really happy with our setup, and we're looking forward to getting our Airstream back on the road to do some camping.
Yay!
And I will have a cold beverage in the fridge. All right, guys, thanks as always for tuning in. This is Long Long Honeymoon. We are Sean and Christy.
If you've liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. It means the world to us.
Until next time, what do we say here? We say,
Lo,
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 lo, ho. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a thumbs down. Feel free to leave a comment. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Hey guys, if you like our videos, a great way to say thank you is to shop using our store on Amazon. You can find it at amazon.com/shop/longlonghoneymoon.
Everything you need for your next RV adventure awaits in our store. But you don't have to just buy camping gear. You can use our store to buy anything that Amazon sells.
When you make a purchase using our store, we receive a small commission. We're reinvesting those commissions into the production of our show. So a great way to support Long Long Honeymoon is to do all of your Amazon shopping using our store.
And one other thing to remember, all purchases made in the Amazon store are completely private. So we have no idea who is buying what.
So if you're looking to buy a new banana slicer, you now know where to go.
Or a banana hammock.
I beg your pardon.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Obviously, it matches up perfectly to our previous unit.
Sorry, I thought I was gonna sneeze. And now I'm yawning. Okay, sorry.
Every time I talk, she yawns.
That's not true. I had an itch on my nose and I thought I was gonna sneeze.
What was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
Saying you're such a wonderful, lovely wife. You don't know what you'd do without her.
Let me try this.
You don't know what you would do without her. She's so amazing.
I'm just getting sleepy every time you talk. So, I don't even remember what I was saying or what we were talking about.
The DOMETIC
Oh, there was a
Corporation.
refrigerator, yeah.